This is a demo of Datahappy. This video is targeted at marketers and developers who are already familiar with the problem we're trying to solve here, which is setting up both client and server-side tracking, specifically for Meta in this case. If you're not familiar with that, I will be making another video on this topic, which I will link to somewhere maybe in the description, so maybe check that out first if you're not familiar. Okay, so today we're going to be implementing Datahappy and demonstrating the Meta integration that we have. To solve this problem currently, the main option you have is using Google Tag Manager, both client-side and then also setting up a server-side container. Again, if you're familiar with doing this, you'll know that it's really time-consuming, complicated, there are lots of nuances, and even once you've set it up by following a guide like this, often there are still gaps and issues that persist. So today we're going to demonstrate a different way. We're going to be using this website builder called UMSO, just a way of building websites essentially. And this is the back end of UMSO, and this is the live demo website that we'll be using. So the first step is to open up the Datahappy documentation, which is here. So if we go to the integration steps, there are two steps. The first is to add in the Datahappy pixel code, and then secondly, add a line of code for each of the events that we want to track. So if we copy that code and then come into here, and we go to the integrations section of UMSO, paste in that code, and then as part of the onboarding process, you will be provided with your project ID. So simply edit this and paste in your project ID. This is the demo ID that we have for this. Before publishing, I'm just going to load the current version, and you can see that there are no pixels or anything firing. So if we now publish those changes, okay, and then reload the page, you can now see that the pixel is firing, and that's because Datahappy has configured itself with best practices for this specific pixel ID. There's nothing you have to do yourself, it just works. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is actually track an event, and in this case we have a contact page with a basic kind of lead form on it. And so if we come into the settings of that form, UMSO have the ability to choose what happens once the form is submitted, and so we can actually add in some custom code here. So the first thing we're going to do is add in this, and just to explain, so this is just grabbing the data that was submitted. Here is a little bit of JavaScript to augment that data in the format that Datahappy expects. And then for now, we're just going to log that object to the console just to demonstrate that it's working. So we publish that, come to the contact form, reload the page, and we're just going to fill out some information here. Hi, and then we bring up the console, just so we can see what's going on, and we submit the form. There you go, you can see that the data has just been prepared correctly in the format that Datahappy expects. Right, so next we're actually going to track the event and send it to Datahappy. So for now we can remove this logging code because we know that works, and we add in this code here. So this is straight from the documentation. So if we come back up here and we go to track lead creation, it's straight from the documentation. Obviously, you need to update this to the values that make sense for you as a business. So in this case, we're saying that each lead is worth approximately £10 to the business. And for the user traits key, we're just going to pass in the data that we've already prepared. And that's literally it. So we've now integrated Datahappy and we've tracked the event. So in terms of the integration steps, we're done. Now we're just going to demonstrate one of our integrations, which is Meta. So if we just clear the activity here, in order to test Meta, they provide this test code. So what we need to do first is just update this a little bit by adding an integrations key that allows us to pass in this code. We then go back here, copy that code, paste it in, and then we're done. So we're now going to run a test, and to run the test, what we're going to do is mock an ad click. And the way that we're going to mock an ad click is just by using this URL. So what I've done here is I've added on this URL parameter called FBClick ID, which is the Facebook click ID, Meta automatically add this unique identifier whenever someone clicks on one of your ads. For now, it's just a random set of characters just to demonstrate that Datahappy is picking this up correctly. Okay, so we now load the home page. We go back to the contact form and we fill this out again. It doesn't really matter. Fill out the form, and then what we're looking for is for that data to be coming through to Facebook. So here you can see that one event's come through already, which is the browser version. And so what we're now waiting to see is whether the server version is going to come through as well. And that needs to be deduplicated correctly. So we're just going to wait a couple of minutes. Okay, so we can see we've got two here. We've got the browser version, which is the one that's been processed. So Meta prefer the browser version to the server version. And you can see that the server version has also come through and it's been deduplicated as it should be. So the event IDs are the same. All the best practices are automatically built in. There's nothing you need to do yourself. And you can see that we're leveraging the external ID, the Facebook click IDs come through, the browser ID, everything that is needed is automatically handled for you. Right, and then the last thing we want to do is just go back and update our code, because if we want to go to production, we can remove this because we no longer need to test it because we've just done that. So what we can then do is just add in, because this function returns a promise, call the .then function and pass in a redirect to the thank you page once the form has been submitted. So that's literally it. We've implemented Datahappy, we've tested it, we've tracked an example event and tested it with our Meta integration. Incidentally, it works exactly the same with all of the other methods that we have on the SDK, and you can also track custom events as well. In future videos, we're going to demonstrate how the other integrations work too. And the hint there is that you don't actually have to change any of your code on the website for that to work. But that will all be seen in an upcoming video. But yeah, hope that's helpful, and see you next time.